Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Holiday House and Pixel and Ink event today. We're excited to have authors Crystal Maldonado and Zach Smith here today, as well as Michelle Montague and Emily Mannon. Is it Mannon or Mannon?
Mannon.
Mannon, okay.
You can call me whatever you want. That sounds fancy.
And I'm going to turn it over to them. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So my name is Michelle Montague, and I'm the Executive Director of Marketing here at Holiday House and Pixel and Ink.
And I'm Emily Mannon, and I'm the Associate Trade Marketing Manager. And we are so excited to talk to you today about some of our favorite fall books from our current list, and to introduce you to our new sister company, Pixel and Ink.
Before we talk about those books, we have two special authors here today for you to meet. They'll tell you a little bit about their upcoming books, and then we'll have a few minutes to answer any questions that you might have. First up is Crystal Maldonado. She's a debut author of the Spring 21 Own Voices Raw Funny YA Fat Chance Charlie Vega. Crystal is a marketer and social media manager by day and is the co-founder of the online magazine called Positively Smitten. I'm going to pass it over to Crystal.
Hi, thank you for the really nice intro. Hi, as mentioned, I'm Crystal Maldonado, author of Fat Chance Charlie Vega, and I am super excited to be talking to all of you today. I do want to introduce you to the book itself. So here it is, and big shout out to the illustrator who created the cover, Erica Lugo. I think she did a phenomenal job, but I'm totally biased here. So I wanted to talk a little bit just about the book and sort of the process behind creating it. So Fat Chance Charlie Vega is really about a fat Latina teen. Her name is Charlie Vega, and she is 16 years old, and she has never been kissed, and feels like that is the end of the world, because she's also feeling like she lives in the shadow of her very perfect best friend, Amelia, who is beautiful and smart and funny and just like all of these wonderful things. And she also has a bit of a difficult relationship with her mom, and she used to be really close with her dad and lost her dad a few years prior. And so, she's just kind of watching the rest of the world do its thing. Her peers, they find love, they find happiness, and she's sort of feeling like life is passing her by. And so she's a little sad about that until she meets this guy named Brian, and suddenly like the voices of the world that tell her to be smaller and be whiter and be quieter sort of fade away. And Brian is this great guy and seems like they have a good thing going, and she's really excited about it. And then she finds out that he asked out her best friend, Amelia, before he asked her out. And that is pretty much the end of the world, right? So it feels like her life kind of takes a turn, and it becomes really challenging for her. And I won't give away anything else, but the book itself is really about what it's like to be a teenager who feels kind of othered in this world in some way or another. And how do we navigate that and really figure ourselves out? And those are the people who I really kind of wrote this book for. I was really inspired to write something to help make people who don't feel like they have the representation that they deserve sort of feel seen in some kind of way. That was really important to me. I know that I kind of wrote this also for myself when I was a teenager growing up, and I spent so much time, in the world of books, and often and obviously consuming media and movies and TV and stuff, and sort of felt like I was surrounded by a sea of, thin bodies and white faces and just perfect families, and all of that's good, but can make you feel kind of alone when you don't really have that. I know I grew up in a predominantly white town with mostly white kids, and I was always straddling the line between being too Latina for the white kids and too white for the Latina kids. And that was really tough. And then, having a family that was messy, as all families are, but it always feels like your family is the messiest. And then on top of all of that, I had glasses and I was fat. Like what that felt like I checked off so many boxes of being an other. And that could be really lonely sometimes. And so I really wanted to make something that would speak to other people who felt similarly, and create something that would sort of take their hand and just say, you know, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, and you're not alone. And so this book is really for all of those people. So yes, of course it is for people like Charlie who are fat, and especially who are Latina and who just don't feel like they get that representation that they deserve. But really it's for anybody who has ever felt any kind of insecurity or anxiety about themselves or a piece of themselves, and just worries that, you know, they're not kind of fitting in or they're having trouble finding their place. And I hope that the book tells them, you know, you're good enough right now as you are. You don't have to change anything. And I really hope that's something that people sort of take away with them after they finish the book, as well as this idea that you don't necessarily need to be perfect in order to love yourself. You can do it right now, you know, you can love yourself as you are and have this be this ongoing journey. And you can be nice to yourself. And that's actually a big, interestingly enough, like a big piece that I took away from the writing process was just, man, maybe I can be nicer to myself too. Maybe I don't have to put so much pressure on myself. And I think that can be a nice reminder sometimes, just to sort of, you know, roll with things, be kind to yourself and make room for you, while still like learning and growing and things like that. I'm just so moved by this idea that somebody might pick this book up and read it and connect with any of the characters and just sort of feel any kind of comfort, and just sort of take that away from the book, that they can love themselves, and that, you know, they are seen and that they do matter. And obviously all of that would not be possible in sharing this book, and sharing this message wouldn't be possible without wonderful indie booksellers like all of you who really make this possible. So I know I have loved books since, I think, I want to say since I was a baby, but obviously I needed to be able to read. But yeah, I've loved books forever, and spent a lot of time in bookstores growing up, especially independent bookstores. And I have always felt like indie bookstores are willing to sort of take that chance and make room for voices like mine and like Charlie's, and to tell those stories. And there's just nothing greater than walking into a bookstore and sort of feeling like you see yourself reflected back at you. That is so meaningful, I think, to me and to a lot of people. And some of my best and like coziest memories are of going into bookstores like that. And it really gives me hope for the future as these stories start to get told, and as we sort of make room for different voices in books and in all media. It makes me hopeful, and I know that I have a one-year-old little girl, and it makes me hopeful for her. She has a whole lifetime of book reading to do, and I cannot wait to just take her to some of these bookstores and some of your bookstores, hopefully, and just spend time with her, just consuming all these wonderful stories. So thank you for all that you do. And I would like to open it up for questions, I guess.
Yes, great. Thank you, Crystal. So I saw some lovely comments in the chat, but no specific questions. But I do have one, which we have been talking about, was because the cover is so captivating and a lot of people have been commenting on it. My first question is, did you in your head have a vision of what the cover would look like? And once you saw the interpretation, you know, how do you feel about it? And, you know, what were your reactions?
Oh gosh. So I am usually very visual when I'm reading. Like I usually picture sort of everything in my mind, but when it came to my own book, I had nothing. Like I really didn't. I knew what Charlie looks like and I knew what the characters looked like, but I couldn't picture a cover myself. And I couldn't even provide any useful direction or any of that. So when we were sort of talking about the cover and, it came back to me, I was completely floored because somehow Erica Lugo nailed it. She knew exactly what I wanted without me knowing what I wanted. And I was, I'm just going to hold it up again because I love it. I just was so moved by her capturing who Charlie is. And also just capturing this vibrancy and this idea. I don't know if you can see, but there's some flowers that are behind Charlie. And it just feels to me like it represents this girl who is on the cusp of just blooming and blossoming and figuring herself out. And that was really so important to me. And I don't know, she just nailed it. I'm so excited.
Everyone's talking about the cover, so it's exciting. So Summer does have a question. She's asking you to talk a bit more about the Positively Smitten. Are you targeting teens there as well, or what drew you to write for the YA market?
Sure. So Positively Smitten was basically an online magazine that my best friend and I launched together because we sort of felt like the messages that were being geared towards young people, especially young girls, young women, were not always so positive. They were more about sort of changing who you are or giving tips for how to get the best body or the best makeup or whatever else, and less about embracing who you are in the now. And so that was a big part of what we wanted to do with that, was sort of just be like, hey, we're here. We love you. You don't have to change yourself. If you want to, that is great, and we'll support you. And that is also a big part of why I think I wanted to write young adult literature, is I just feel like your teen years are so formative and so scary. And you have all of these messages coming at you all the time, including from yourself, from your friends, from your families, from the media that you consume. And it's really hard as an adult to navigate that. So when you're finding yourself and figuring out who you want to be, that is even more overwhelming. And so I wanted to try and carve out a little bit of space for people who are overwhelmed by all of that messaging and just want to feel a little bit of support and, a little bit of positivity, because it's tough, it's tough being a teenager, I feel like.
It's very tough. We appreciate you being here, Crystal, and I'm going to move on to Emily to introduce Zach, and take a look at the notes in the chat because there are a lot of lovely comments.
Thank you.
And I'll pass it to Emily.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. That was really lovely. And like Michelle said, I'm here to introduce Zach Smith. He is an LA storyboard artist who has done work for Netflix, WB Animation, and Nickelodeon. And now he is a debut graphic novel artist, creator. And he is going to chat with you a little more about his series, Dolphin Girl.
Thank you. Man, I feel like Crystal's book is so much more meaningful. I do comedy storyboards, and I do just kind of classic cartoony sort of kids humor stuff during the day. So working on Dolphin Girl was a pretty easy transition from that. But yeah, I definitely feel like you have such a great message, Crystal, and it's cool to hear. But yeah, my book has no message besides to make people laugh. I mean, it has a little bit of a message. Basically, I have it right here. It's Dolphin Girl, Trouble in Pizza Paradise. And I wrote it, and I did all the artwork in it. It's a graphic novel. And I had a friend of mine help me color it. But the process was really cool, and it was really fun to do something sort of out of the sort of bureaucracy of TV development, which is just, it can go on and on and on. And I feel like it was such a fun process to make a book, and just working with Bethany, my editor, and it was very like here's my idea, I'm making it, and now it's a thing, and I felt like it was just really freeing. And yeah, so about the book, Dolphin Girl is sort of inspired by my upbringing in suburban Detroit, which was strip malls and factories and like snow and like just sort of this like world that's, I don't like, after living in LA, you go back and you're like, oh, like, but but like I love it so much, and I wanted to. I think growing up there, I was always like, why isn't anything ever set here? Like, it's always just like in the big cities, and so I thought it would be funny to show like superheroes, but in like that sort of strip mall world of like big box stores and like malls and just like there's no big city in sight. And basically we follow Dolphin Girl around with her sort of unreliable dad. They're both superheroes, but they're also running this sort of Chuck E. Cheese style restaurant where they're the mascots. So it's kind of like this juggling of like running a restaurant that's always on the verge of going out of business, and then being a kid and dealing with like schoolwork and the things that kids go through, but then also fighting crime and learning how to be a better superhero and a better person. And all of it's very silly, and kind of like the overall joke of it is very like how sort of banal everything is around them, and like just the setting is very present, and I wanted that to like people to feel what it's like to live there as they're reading it. Yeah, so I did want to talk a little bit about like the doing storyboards and like that process to go from doing that for a living into making a book. I felt like it really informed the way I was doing the drawings in the book and the way I wrote the book. I kind of wrote it from an outline. I didn't really have a script originally. And I'm sure it was like really hard for Bethany to look at that and be like, what is this? But for me, I have worked on a lot of shows where you write like an outline with a writer, and then you go forward and you personally write all the dialogue as you're doing it. So it's kind of improvisational, and it sort of feels like improv comedy while you're doing it. That was sort of the process I had, which was like a little messy, but I feel like it turns out some really funny stuff and some really funny visual stuff that wouldn't have come if I had pre-written everything. I'm super visual, and like the way I think and process stuff is super visual, so it just worked for me. But I felt like I directly kind of stole that process from working in TV animation every day, and it was cool to put it into book form. It felt like kind of easy to transfer that process. It was definitely hard to make a book, but it was easier for me to like see things sequentially that way. Yeah, so going forward in the future, I think right now I'm making a second Dolphin Girl book. We'll see what happens after that. But there'll be a lot more adventures of Dolphin Girl to come. And yeah, I don't have a ton to say because there's not like a huge message in the book besides trying to make people laugh. I'm super thankful that you guys are giving me time to talk. I love independent bookstores. My favorite one back in Detroit was John King Books in Detroit, which is this like massive used bookstore that I used to like go and get lost in all the time. And out here, I go to Brahmins a lot in Pasadena, which is like such a cool store. And I love like, my favorite thing ever is just to like have like an hour or two and like get lost in there and just like the discovery that happens in a cool bookstore that's like everything's set up in a cool way, and there's like I just love it, and I'm really thankful that you guys gave me a space to show you my book. And yeah, if you want to open up to questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Zach. We do have a question from Summer. She says, humor is so hard. Does your daughter think you are funny? Great question.
I don't know.
Or do you get funny ideas from her as well?
I think my daughter thinks I'm funny now, but probably not for much longer. She's really funny. She likes to try to make me laugh a lot. I think my wife's sick of me. I try to make her laugh all the time. I think for me, like humor is like, I think I took one of those like values surveys a long time ago, like what are your values? And that was like my number one thing. And I think for me, it can be really cool and it can be fun, and it's something important to keep in books, but it can also get you into like a lot of trouble in life. So I don't know how good of a thing it's good and bad, but yeah, my kids are like, they try to be little comedians all the time for sure.
I actually have a question. Do you want to kind of talk about maybe your favorite? Oh, well, actually we have a another question from Summer. She said, how many Dolphin Girl books do you plan on making?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess however many they'll pay me to make. And no,
One more.
I have a ton of ideas for like future storylines for sure. I think it's pretty the villains are very, and like the superhero-y aspects are very like kind of J Ward, like 70s like TV special kind of style stuff. So I think it's easy for me to sort of generate ideas based on like what could come into town this time and like screw everything up. But yeah, I love the characters. I love getting lost in the world and like living there, especially these days, like getting kind of like just like escaping everything and going to this little world I created. So I would like to make more for sure.
You mentioned the villains. Do you want to talk to us
Oh
about
yeah,
one of the
sure.
villains?
Yeah, the main villain in the first book is Sea Cow. So everything's kind of like sea themed. Let me see if I can find a picture of her. Yeah, here's Sea Cow right here. She's a person in like a cow suit, but she's basically just like evil. Her whole plan is to take over Pizza Paradise and sell her like diet shakes, so that because she like invested in these diet shakes that she can't sell, and now she needs to sell them. So it's like trying to zombify everybody in town so that they will buy her stuff, basically. So I mean, the problem, it's kind of like the evil characters are just really ridiculous and everything's kind of over the top. But yeah, I would definitely like to make more for sure. I could spin off some more stuff.
Sounds like it. Okay. Well, if unless anyone else has something else, Zach, I want to thank you so much for being here with us and talking about your hysterical book. And I just got to say, Dolphin Girl, we like to say she's a mood at a lot of times around the office. She's very relatable in a lot of ways.
Makes us laugh out loud. Really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I feel like Dolphin Girl is sort of a combination of like me and my wife and some other people I know, but it's just sort of like the characters like in the world, and the world is crazy and they're just like, what's happening, and they're kind of trying to navigate through this crazy world. Yeah.
Okay. Well, perfect. We're really excited that all of you booksellers had the opportunity to meet both of these wonderful authors. And we just want to remind you that you can request ARCs of both of these books in our virtual booth through the ARC request link. So make sure you head over there and check that out. And thank you, Crystal and Zach, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. So we're going to move on to part 2. And Crystal and Zach, you are free to run freely. But thank you so much again for joining us. And we're going to move on to our presentation. Great. So, and now I think, Emily, you're going to take over and show our PowerPoint.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen.
Great. And we'll jump right in. All right, I think we're going to get started. And now on to our upcoming books. Almost every author is available for virtual events and also available to sign book plates. So keep that in mind as we go through, and we're just going to dive right in. We're going to dive right into Field Trip to the Ocean Deep. It's our first book. Here readers see the return of characters from Field Trip to the Moon, but this time they travel on a yellow school bus submarine to explore the bottom of the ocean. When one student, I think there's a next slide. When one student stops to take a picture of a treasure chest, he falls into a ravine and is entertained by a deep sea creature until he's rescued by the teacher. We already have an extensive downloadable activity kit for Field Trip to the Moon on our website, and we're going to be adding to it with new activities. It's great for in-store events, or you can recommend it to your customers.
All right, we got another slide there. You can see the great artwork. And now Your Place in the Universe. In this wonderful picture book, Jason Chin, the winner of the Caldecott and Cyber Honor for Grand Canyon and a Boston Globe Hornbook Honor for 9 months, has made a spectacular book about size, scale, and almost unimaginable distance. Another slide. This is a book for kids who love facts and factoids, and for parents who want their kids to learn about perspective, astronomy, and astrophysics. This book's stunning illustrations and awe-inspiring facts lends itself exceptionally well to events, so we will have a downloadable activity kit, event kit for your store, or you can send it home to your customers. And the bright, beautiful illustrations and foil on the cover make this a great gift option for the upcoming holidays.
Great, next slide. Yep, 13-year-old Braden Harrington and Joe Biden recently brought stuttering to the nation's attention. We're so pleased to add an uplifting and loving picture book to the current conversation about people who stutter. I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott and illustrated by Sydney Smith, who you all know from Small in the City, is a poetic expression of Jordan's childhood as a person who stutters and his father, who gave him a new appreciation for his voice. This masterpiece in the making already has 5 stars, including one from Bookpage that says, it's unquestionably one of the best picture books of 2020. I Talk Like a River isn't simply a book about a boy who stutters. It's a book that gives a voice to anyone who has ever felt lonely, left out, or misunderstood. It's a book full of hope and new beginnings. We're offering a GWP poster, I think it's the next slide, and a gorgeous L card with 4-copy autographed pre-pack that we think will really catch your customers' eyes. Though the beautiful gatefold that you see here is remarkable even through the screen. There's the gatefold. Great.
In We Will Live in This Forest Again, Sonoma resident Gianna Marino, the illustrator of Chelsea Clinton's Don't Let Them Disappear, has crafted her very personal response to the 2017 Northern California wildfires. It's told from the point of view of the animals who experience a forest fire, and it's a vivid but hopeful book with spectacular artwork. It's an excellent way for parents and teachers to help children understand how to protect our forests and to give them encouragement when fire hits close to home, which, as you know, unfortunately has been for so many recently. Fire Prevention Week is the first week in October, and this makes a great complement to in-person or homeschool lessons about that. And the next slide is The Adventures of a Girl Called Bicycle. As you can see in the bottom, was an Indie Next title, and it was Christina Uss's debut novel. Now she has The Colossus of Rhodes, which is just as quirky and fun. It's all about LA traffic, which I'm sure some of you have experienced, a boy with an unusual talent, and a race to save his family's Polish food truck. This is a perfect read for that kid who loved Carl Hiaasen books, and it's a good reminder to own what makes you special and use it to make a difference.
Everyone's favorite Van Wolfzam really takes off as he gets flying lessons from a vampire bat who bit him in the second Middle School Bites book, Tom Bites Back. Kids were obsessed with the first book in the series. My favorite review quote was from a 9-year-old, Sam, in New Jersey, who simply said, "Middle School Bites is lit." New York Times bestselling author Stephen Banks, who some of you met last year, is an LA local and can pop in for area stock signings. He's a great one to set up a virtual visit with. In addition to his funny personality, he has some great stories from his time as head writer on SpongeBob SquarePants. In Pine Island Home, for 4 newly orphaned siblings fear being separated and put into foster care. So the eldest sister comes up with a scheme to keep her situation hidden from everyone on Pine Island. This classic in the making has the charm of Little Women and the adventure of the Penderwicks, and we know a wide range of readers will love this book. Kirkus Reviews, in a starred review, called it delightful. And as you may already know, author Polly Horvath has won both a Newbery Honor and the National Book Award.
Eleanor Alice and the Roosevelt Ghosts is a one-of-a-kind alternate history novel in which young Eleanor and Alice Roosevelt, yes, that Eleanor Roosevelt that you're familiar with, takes down the spirits haunting their legendary family. Think Pride and Prejudice with zombies, but with historical figures and for middle graders. Aaron Bowman, the author of Contagion, said it is a spooky, fast-paced, and inventive tale. Salerni expertly blends fact and fiction. It's perfect for Halloween, but it really is a year-round story that anyone who loves historical fiction, emphasis on the fiction, or mysteries, huge emphasis on the mysteries, will read again and again. Even though it's middle grade, it will appeal to an older and a younger audience. Hannah West's contemporary YA, The Bitter Wine Oath, has incredible supernatural elements, Southern Gothic flavor, a steamy romance, and a cult sisterhood of witches who may or may not be responsible for the murder of 12 men every 50 years. I'm not supposed to have a favorite, but if I were to be allowed to have a favorite, this would be it. You have no idea how it will end. Hannah West does an incredible job of weaving in twists and turns that come out of nowhere, but still make perfect sense. It's creepy, nail-biting, and it's just a great book for true crime fans.
And now back around to Fat Chance Charlie Vega. We can't do a better job than Crystal telling you about her book, but we just want to emphasize how great this real, wry, and messy Latinx own voices story of first love and flawed relationships is. And it has that gorgeous cover. Crystal's clearly so personable and funny, and we know she'll be great for virtual visits. And now, next slide, and introducing Pixel and Ink. Pixel and Ink is a brand new children's publisher devoted exclusively to series publishing for children ages 3 to 13. You can see their inaugural summer and fall titles here. From picture books to chapter books to middle grade and graphic novels, each of their properties is full of heart and humor, like
Dolphin Girl. So Zach told you all about this upcoming graphic novel, but we just want to show you a little more of his great artwork in these next few slides. Nothing is better than a spunky girl superhero, except for a funny spunky girl superhero, and Dolphin Girl definitely delivers there. This is the start of what we're sure will be a fan favorite series, and maybe we'll even see some Dolphin Girl Halloween costumes this year.
Imagine Veronica Mars meets Ocean's 8 for the infamous Frankie Lord tween series about an international thief and his thief-in-training daughter return to the real world. It's full of spies, lock-picking, and chocolate croissants. And it's great to hand to that kid who's aged out of middle grade but isn't quite ready for YA. So thank you so much for listening. Check out our booth for a I Talk Like a River video, a region-specific Edelweiss catalog, and lots of physical and digital ARCs. Please feel free to reach out with any questions or to set up virtual events. And you can follow us on all our social media channels at Holiday House BKS. And you can follow Pixel and Ink on Instagram at Pixel and Ink BKS. So thanks so much. Have a nice afternoon, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.